Vinit, can you hear us? Prashant is Mahesh going to join?
Not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure he's out or not. I didn't call him.
Okay. Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, Gopi.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get started. Okay.
Okay.
Mm. So today we will go over the monitoring and controlling process. So in the last session we are talking about different processes. In the five project management process groups and across all the 10 knowledge areas. So we covered initiating phase, planning and executing. Today we'll cover monitoring and controlling and closure. So okay, basically it consists of those processes required to track, review, and regulate the process and performance of the project, identify any areas in which changes to the plan are required, and initiate the corresponding changes. So basically, you track, review, and regulate the process and performance of the project during this process group. So identify any areas in which changes to the plan are required and initiate the corresponding changes. So you need to track, review, and regulate the processes, and as well as you will review the performance of the project. And if it requires some corrective or preventive action, you take it. Once you take the preventive or corrective action, you need to assess the impact to the other knowledge areas or other constraints and make the necessary changes. So that's what the monitoring and controlling deals with. It includes controlling changes and recommending the preventive actions in anticipation of possible problems, monitoring the ongoing project activities against the project monitoring plan and the project performance baseline. So, what is project performance? Project performance baseline. Anyone?
Gopi, Vinith here.
Yeah, we need.
I think for any project to, we need to some benchmark certain aspects when we are trying to understand the success of the project.
Yeah.
Let's say if we want to understand the schedule, right from the project baseline, let's say when we say this project is going to start on a particular date and end on a particular date, but if there is any deviation, if there is any variance or 10% variance or 20% variance, we can actually at the end of the project, we can, when we do the lessons learned, or even in the middle of the project, we can see that what is the kind of deviation and all that, not
Yes.
only in terms of the schedule but also in terms of the other parameters.
Yes. Okay. So you said it's you need to calculate the variations and all right. So obviously you need to in order to compare. You need two pieces. One is original, and another one is actual, proposed versus actuals, right? So performance project performance baseline is the a combination of schedule baseline, cost baseline, scope baseline. Okay. So if you all match it together, I mean mix it together, that is called project performance baseline. Otherwise, you call it cost performance baseline, schedule performance baseline, okay, or scope performance baseline. So on top of doing the individual, like what Vinith explained, as the project progress, we need to track the progress of the project or the activity. So you need to use this baseline. Baseline is nothing but for a what do you call a schedule baseline. It can be simply a project plan, Microsoft project plan, with the details of all the milestones and individual tasks, and when we need to complete, what are the dependencies and everything. Okay. So once the output of final uh, schedule process is called schedule baseline. Okay. And the same is the case with cost and the scope. So you take this as a baseline reference, and then you calculate as of today how are we performing. So that is called so that baseline whatever we are using for comparison as a proposed version, that is called project performance baseline. Okay. So monitoring the ongoing project activities against the project management plan and the project performance baseline. See, basically, the project manager job is to ensure that all the activities are going as per the project management plan, and the constraints, or the cost, time, and scope are aligned with the project performance baseline. So that is what the PM job is during the execution, during the project, influencing the factors that could circumvent integrated change control, so only approved changes are implemented. So in PMP you have a very important topic that is called change control, integrated change control, or integrated change management process. So basically whenever there are some changes, let's say I'm an important stakeholder and I would like to add additional feature to the product, but we are already in the build phase or something. So at that point, we cannot simply accept their additional feature request, but we need to take that point and see how the other constraints are impacted. Then you propose the changes, submit it to a group called change control board, usually cab, or usually most of the big companies, they have a change approval board, okay, change control board. So they will, because let's say an organization, a big organization American Express, on a daily basis thousands of changes go into production, okay. So there is a board, okay, who will review these changes. There will be an internal change control board and external change control board, because if it is a common environment which hundreds of project uses, then there will be internal change control board, and then overall organization change control board. So they will review our proposal, and once they approve the change, then only we need to go ahead with the proposed changes, okay. if if in case my voice is not audible or there is some disturbance, please ping me on WhatsApp, that I think there is some disconnect and we are not able to hear you. Shrikant?
Yes, Gopi, I'm able to hear you.
Okay, so just in case I get disconnected, because I'm tethering, I'm internet sharing from my phone to my laptop. So in case if it gets connected or you don't hear my voice or something goes wrong, please ping me on my WhatsApp, because I wouldn't be able to know. Okay. So now let's go. So in the monitoring control project, so basically the first process within the within the monitoring control process group for the integrated knowledge area is monitor and control project work. So this is the process. Okay, I think it's better. I'll just review. Yeah. So here, so in the monitoring control group, The project integration management, you have monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, validate scope, control scope, which is a project scope management. And then you have under project time management, you have control schedule, then control costs, control quality, control communications, control risks, control procurements, control stakeholder engagement. And in the procurement, we have close project or phase and close procurements. Okay. So again, going back to the screen, this is just yeah. So monitoring and control project work. This is the first process, and this is a process necessary for collecting, measuring, and disseminating performance information, assessing measurements and trends to affect process improvements. So inputs, you have project management plan, schedule forecast, cost forecast, validated changes, work reports information, enterprise environmental factors, organization process assets. So basically, schedule forecast is see every so since this is integrated change control, we need to assume that the individual knowledge areas have been taken care, and you feed into the integrated integrated management process. So that's why you have a schedule forecast. That means so you will review if there are any changes. If there are any changes, you will review the uh, a schedule forecast. That means this change has, so I mean these impacts to the cost schedule. Okay, then that is called for schedule forecast. In general, throughout the project, what you need to do is you need to periodically forecast the project, like a checkpoint every week, or fortnightly check whether the project is on track or not. So forecasting is very very important, and I think we will in the next sessions we will discuss the tools and techniques how to forecast. Okay, what are the tools and techniques, how the cost forecast and a schedule forecast can be done. Okay, so that is what. Hi Mahesh,
Hi, Yobi.
you are late today.
Yeah, seriously, I got stuck in traffic, in fact.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah, just came.
So anyways, we just got started. Mahesh, I was just giving them introduction about monitoring and control process group. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the first process that we are going to monitoring and control project work. So basically, this is the process necessary for collecting, measuring, and disseminating project information, and assessing measurements and trends to affect process improvements. So basically, you'd collect all the details, let's say, deliverables, right? So, and work performance data. Deliverables means, let's say there is a piece of code, okay, that is a deliverable. And otherwise, work performance data means work performance data from cost management, schedule management, scope, communications, and other areas. So you feed all this information to this. So you have project management plan, schedule forecast, forecast, validated changes. That means the integrated change control would have been already done. For example, validated changes means the changes were already validated. They means that has been not approved but validated. In the sense, we have assessed the impact of one constraint on the other constraint. So that is validated changes. And then we have work reports information. Work report information means basically work performance data. Okay, information is a what do you call raw way of collecting data. Reports are putting that in a streamlined manner. So we need to identify the difference: work performance data and work performance report. Okay. So work performance data means it's a rough raw data that we get out of individual knowledge areas. And work performance report is you take the important points from it and put that as a graph or a grid or a milestone or something. Okay. And that may be for publishing it to the higher management and things like that. Okay. Work performance data, work performance report, very important. Okay. And then outputs: change requests, work performance report, project management plan updates, project document updates. So basically, so we will end up opening change requests if there are any changes, and then you have work performance report we just discussed, project management plan updates. So because, like I said, if it requires corrective or preventive action, a particular action requires a corrective or preventive action, then we need to make the necessary changes to the project documents and project management plan, and you need to open a change request. Okay. And don't worry, it's a big chapter. We will go over these things when we go to the individual chapters. Okay. And then here the next process is perform integrated change control. This is the process necessary for controlling factors that create changes to make sure those changes are beneficial, determining whether a change has occurred. Okay. So perform integrated change control, as I just explained. Any organization would have a change control board, and the combined efforts starting from evaluating a change, evaluating a change and assessing the impacts on other constraints. That is the first step of a perform integrated change control, and then coming up with proposed changes, and then submitting the request to a change control board. Once they approve, we need to open a change request, and then we need to update the project plan, project documents, I mean, it can be a corrective action or preventive action, but it has to be approved by the change control board. Your project manager can be part of change control board, or your PMO can be a change control board, or your senior management or your directors or VPs. I mean, it depends on the organization. So I was just telling that a big organization like Amex, so you have a huge change management process in place. It is very difficult to implement changes in production. um, for example, if you want to install some changes in a test environment, you need to give 2 days of heads up. You need to get approval from your immediate FT lead and your manager. There are at least 3 levels of approvals just to install a change in the test environment, and assume how the change control process would be when we have to implement the change in production. So in the production, so first level is you again what how it happens is you have different levels of, so you need to first, yeah so again in when we are dealing with the change control process with a huge organization, first, when you open a change request, you need to first identify whether is this high impact critical change. Based on that, you have your change window. That means sometimes it can be a 10 days change window, it can be a 5 days, 2 days, but minimum is 3 days. You need to give 3 days prior notification, and it has to be updated in a release calendar, and it will be reviewed first internally by internal team, project team, managers and directors. They will approve it, and then it goes to the appropriate groups, whoever are installing, and then it will be reviewed by the change control board. Then it is finally released. So it's a complicated process, but that differently helps, because on a daily basis there might be like 1,000 changes in production environment. Without the proper change management process in place, it is very difficult to organize these changes. Okay, that is the reason why. So here let's see. And from a PMP standpoint, this is a process necessary for controlling factors that create changes to make sure those changes are beneficial, determining whether the change has occurred. So basically, whenever there is a change, you don't directly go ahead and implement the change. Let's say a what do you call, project sponsor or someone asks you to add a feature, and that feature is no way is related to the objective of this project. Let's say our objective of the project is to comply with the government rules, and he is asking us to create a report for trending and analysis to improve a business. So I mean, this is nowhere related to the actual objective of the project. Even though that is useful, but as a project manager, you will receive so many such requests which are deviating from the objective of the project or business case. So you need to push back on those changes and tell them that this is not satisfying our business needs or the objectives. Yes, it is useful. Maybe push it to some other project, but not in my project. So you have every right to push it back. Okay, and if you feel based on the first hand information, if you feel like this thing requires a change request, then you need to do follow the process. And I mean, it can not always be a request from a stakeholder. It can also be a defect fixing also, like corrective actions are basically after the fact. So we are in the build phase, and then there are some defects, so you need to make a major change. So then you need to there will be an impact to overall constraint. Then again, that is a corrective action. Preventive action can be something, you realized, like you do the risk management frequently, and you identify that there are some outages expected, and it is going to impact 10 days of our work. So like those are, so we are anticipating well in advance that three months down the line there might be an outage, and we want to change all our plans. So that is preventive action. So when we take the preventive action, accordingly we need to change all the documents. Now let's go over the inputs. Project management plan, work performance information reports, change requests, EF and OPA. So again, here work performance information report, we will see why work performance information report is required here, because so you need to provide that information to the cab process for their reference. And then outputs, approved change request. Okay, so output of performance integrated change code is approved. Okay, your change request has been reviewed and approved. And then you have change log, you have project management plan updates, project document updates. Okay, so going on to the next, validate scope. So this is the process necessary for finalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables. One second. This is the process necessary for formalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables. Also involves a check that product, service or result meets stakeholder requirements. Okay, so basically here you can see formalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables. Okay, so scope usually deals with the deliverables, okay, and requirements. So let's say I have a code to be accepted. So basically you will validate the scope whether it meets the specifications or it meets the requirement mentioned in the requirement documents and stuff. Okay. Also involves a check that product, service or results meet the stakeholder requirement. Exactly. Okay. So inputs, project management plan, requirements documentation, requirements traceability matrix, verified deliverables, work performance data. Okay. So verified deliverables, that means verified deliverables is you have your deliverables generated, but obviously as part of the standard process you get your deliverables reviewed by your lead or whoever the assigned. It can be peer review as well, but those deliverables needs to be validated by your reviewed by your peer or next level. That is called verified deliverables. So that means first level of verification is already completed. And you have requirement traceability matrix. So definitely you need to have high level business needs documents mapped with the requirements, just to see whether both the things are matching with the scope with the deliverables that may be required. And obviously requirement documentation, just to understand whether the quality aspects have been met, whether the other things have been met, whatever we documented in the requirements. Project management, work performance data. Again, work performance data is you gather the details from cost, time, schedule, scope and other knowledge areas. That is called work performance data. We will see more in detail like what comprises work performance data in the consequent chapters. Outputs, accepted deliverables. Here you have verified deliverables. Once you validate scope, it becomes accepted deliverables. And then you have change requests. If someone says, okay, this is not correct, you go fix it, then it is a change request. Work performance information. So you have work performance data becomes work performance information. That means a streamlined information of the raw data. Then project document updates. Yeah. So if it requires changes to other project documents, you will make the changes. Control scope. So this is the, so here you have validated the scope. Here you are controlling the scope. This is a process necessary for monitoring status of a project and product scope and manage changes to scope baseline. Okay. So here we try to ensure that whatever the whatever we defined in the scope baseline, we try to align to that. So we control the scope, project deliverables or scope of the project to align with the scope baseline. Okay. We'll see what a scope baseline is. Scope baseline is basically what? WBS. It comprises of WBS and it comprises of work package information and and other details. So you take the WBS and see if everything in the whatever we listed in the WBS is met. Okay. So inputs, project management plan, requirements documentation, requirement traceability matrix, work performance data, organization process assets. Then the output, work performance information, change requests, project management plan updates, project document updates, organization process assets. Okay. Here validate scope is you are verifying the deliverables, okay, and you are ensuring that the acceptance criteria for that product is met, okay, and and whether the stakeholder requirements are matching with this one. That means you are basically doing a quality kind of check, but it is not. Again, it will be performed in quality check, okay, but here you are ensuring that the requirements, it is functional way of validating your deliverables. Okay. Here control scope means you are trying to control the uh, um, so you are monitoring the status of the project and the product scope and manage changes to the scope baseline. If there are any deviations, then you need to open change request. Okay. control. Okay, so we will see more into it. Then you have next a control schedule. So this is the process necessary for monitoring status of project, to update project progress, controlling changes to the project schedule. So this is the process necessary for monitoring status of project, to update the progress, controlling changes to the project schedule. So basically you just need to control your schedule and factors influencing the schedule changes. Okay, and you are trying to keep it in check and align with the schedule baseline. Inputs: project management plan, project schedule, work performance data, project calendar, schedule data, organization process assets. Output: work performance information, schedule forecast, change request, project management plan updates, project document updates, and organization process asset updates. So obviously, when you are trying to control the schedule and monitoring it and taking some steps, there will be change requests and there will be some corrective and preventive actions which may turn out to be change requests. So when you have a change request, you have changes to all the documents, project management plan, project documents, and if there are changes to your work authorization system or your other tools, you have to make changes. And then so since it is impacting your schedule, what you do is you do the schedule forecast to see whether we are still matching the end date of the project. That is schedule forecast. Okay, and then you publish the work performance information. Control cost: similar to the schedule, you try to schedule the cost, control the cost. The process of monitoring the project status to update the project budget and manage changes to the cost baseline. Okay, so similar to that, project management plan is the input, project funding requirements, work performance data, organization process, organization process assets, outputs. Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Because I think the audio just got lost. Okay. So the inputs: project management plan, project funding requirements, work performance data, organization process assets. Outputs: work performance information, cost forecast, change requests, project management plan updates, project document updates, and OPA updates. So again, just in the case, like in the case of schedule, control schedule, here also, whenever there are if you feel like there are going to be some cost changes, budget changes, you do the cost forecast, whether we are in line with the organize what do you call, the initial uh, uh, budget constraint that we had. If not, then we need to update the management that we are going we are we are going to have over budget or budget shoot. And then you have again change request related to the cost if it requires. And when there are changes to one constraint, there are other changes to other constraint which requires changes to project management plan updates, project document updates, and then OPA updates. And then you have work performance information, you maybe come up with some dashboards and stuff and publish it. Control quality: process necessary for monitoring and recording results of. Okay, process necessary for monitoring and recording results of executing quality activities to assess performance and recommend necessary changes. Okay, So this is all related to quality. Okay, grade of the deliverable. Okay, whether it requires a proper quality requirements. So process necessary for monitoring and recording results of executing quality activities to assess performance and recommend necessary changes. So project management plan is the input, quality metrics, quality checklist, work performance data, approved change requests, deliverables, project documents, organization process assets. So basically you need deliverables to assess your quality. Okay. So quality is need not be like a grade always, but whether your quality requirements are met. Like uh, I mean, in order to deliver your product, there might be there might be defects. Okay, there might be multiple there might be multiple change requests and things. So in the quality metrics, in the plan quality management, you will come up with what are the quality metrics we need to use. So you document all the quality metrics, like number of defects, percentage of defects versus number of lines of code, 10 defects per 10,000 lines of code, or defect leakage from one defect leakage from one phase to another phase. That means defect leakage from integration testing to user acceptance testing, or defect leakage from integration user acceptance testing to post production defects. So all these metrics are very useful to assess the quality of our project. Okay, or it can be a simple thing like defect density. I mean, that's what defect density is, number of lines of code. What else? Can anyone suggest some quality metrics? Vinith or Srikanth? You are from testing background, right? Can you suggest some um, quality metrics that we use in our projects? Defect aging, or what what else? Can you hear me,
Yeah,
Srikanth?
yeah, Gopi, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm able to hear you.
can you?
So most of our quality metrics deal with the mapping along with the requirements actually. But whatever you were asking, like the defect aging process and all that, right?
Yeah.
That's controlled by a group which takes the stuff from us actually. I mean, I don't know if you're aware or not,
Yeah.
but the functional group and the regression group are two different groups in our area.
Okay.
So it's more controlled by the regression group, and we fall into that functional zone. Of course, we do maintain those quality metrics, which are more
Mm.
to check with the functional requirements mapping and all that.
Okay.
But
So
exactly,
basically,
we don't
you come
do
up with
the
your
defect analysis.
requirement versus defects traceability matrix, requirement versus test case traceability matrix,
Exactly,
things like that,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that is also part of it. You need to ensure that you all your test cases or test scenarios are mapped to the requirements, so that you don't have any unmapped requirements. And if there are defects open, you need to ensure it. You need to tie it back to the test case, and the test case is tied back to the requirements, right?
Correct, correct. True.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, see, depends on the project. You have different quality metrics and quality checklist. So usually people have quality checklists. That means I'll give an example. The first, so before even you accept your deliverable, not in terms of functional testing, so that comes under validated scope. Here I'm purely talking about quality process. Quality means, see, just if I give a piece of code logic, you can just code it and deliver it. That is the simplest part of it. But in a typical project setup, that is only 30% of your job. 70% is documentation, following the quality and other things. So I'll give you an example of quality checklist. So the first point is whether all the coding standards have been followed during your coding process. Yes or no, maybe. Okay, that is one point. Second point is whether any loosely coupled way of coding has been performed. Yes, okay. Then whether unit testing is performed on your code. Okay. Whether performance related aspects have been covered during your coding. Okay. Check. And then so whether self review has been completed for your code. Okay. Have you documented the observations or defects? Yes. Have you mapped it with the test cases, unit test cases? Yes. Have you documented the defects in the quality center or so and so good this thing? Okay. Or did the peer review has been performed? Okay. Who did the peer review? What are the observations? Okay. And so what are the lessons learned? I'm just giving a flow because I mean this is some of the checklist quality checklist that we use in our projects. So it can be different for your project. Okay, I cannot debate. So it depends. I'm just giving an example to make it easy. And then the next thing is work performance data. That's a standard information. Then you have your approved change requests. Then you have deliverables. So you are doing the quality check on the approved change requests, and then you have deliverables. Obviously, you need the deliverables to perform the quality check, and they have you OPA. Outputs are quality control measurements, the metrics, validated changes, validated deliverables, work performance information, change requests, project management plan updates, project document updates, organization processes. Wherever you see the output as change request, you can simply remember that it is associated with a project management plan updates, project document updates. And when it comes to control process, you will see the work performance information in all the outputs, be it control cost or control schedule. It is the same, pretty much same. Okay. You have control communications. This is a process necessary for monitoring and controlling communications throughout the entire project life cycle. Inputs: project management plan, project communication, issue log, work performance data, organization process assets. This is a process necessary for monitoring control communication throughout the entire project life cycle. Yeah, so we need to see how our communication processes defined, or how our the communication plans defined in the initial phases, during the planning phase or working, whether it requires corrective or preventive action. Let's say a person in one of the meetings, people raise a concern that in the team meetings, since it is a cross border project, people, let's say people in India and people from US, people from Brazil join that meeting, and people from Brazil may raise a concern that, or people from US may raise a concern that, so whenever we are in a meeting, we could hear some internal conversations happening in local language, and we are not, we don't get it. Okay, like we tend to discuss the things in the local language. I mean, especially Indian, so we tend to discuss the things in local language, while others are on the call. Okay, we don't realize that it irritates others. So that may be a point, and it all relates to the communication management. So he might go to the communication plan and change and made it mandatory that do not have a cross conversations or a local conversation during the meetings, and it is strictly adhered to the agenda, and it has to be one one way of communication, not different groups having their own conversations. So I'm just giving an example, okay? Then it requires change to the communication plan, and this is a way of controlling communications, okay? And here you have taken necessary what do you call, corrective action. And sometimes once we have done this, now for the next project we will update this point well ahead and during the planning process itself. We don't know, okay? So let's see, inputs: project management plan, project communication, issue log, work performance data, and OPA. Outputs: work performance information, change request, project management plan updates, project document updates, organization process asset updates, okay? So like I said, if there is a change request, that means people are suggesting that we need to change the way a communication should happen. We need I mean, we need more lines, or we need a what, okay, instead of for the scrum meetings, let's say, we might have decided that the stand up call should happen where the team sits. So your scrum master will lead the call, and the other 5 team members will give their updates. But it might have observed that other team members might have given complaint that, okay, these guys scrum updates are disturbing our work. So then it has to be proposed as a change request that, okay, we have some issues. So the scrum updates or stand-up meeting should happen inside a closed room. They have to go to a conference room so that it does not disturb others. Okay, so then it requires updates to the project management plan. If everything agrees that yes, okay, it can be inside a conference room. Okay, so you have control risk. This is the process necessary for tracking identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new risks, executing risk response plans, and evaluating their effectiveness throughout the project lifecycle. Okay, so this is the process necessary for tracking identified risks. I mean, we already have risk identified. Monitoring residual risk, that means few risks, even though you take care of them, there is some residual risk still intact with it. Like let's say there is some risk and 80% of it is already been taken care, but there is still 20% chances of that thing happening. Identifying new risks, executing risk response plans, and evaluating their effectiveness throughout the project life cycle. Okay, so the way we are doing the risk analysis, or how the approach, so that will be reviewed, and we will try to identify if there are any gaps in our way of, because we can tell that, we can assume that there has been a process to identify the risk, and then the next step is, maybe we can come up with a risk management flow chart. First is identify risk, second is evaluate the risk quality metrics or quantity metrics, and propose mitigation plans, or whether you need to accept or transfer or residue risk, things like that. And finally the risk is updated. So this is a typical flow for risk management. So we need to see whether each and every step of the risk plan or risk flow chart is working proper or not, and take necessary steps. For example, the risk can be like um, so in order to monitor the any illegal activities or unacceptable activities inside a office room, so what do we need to do? Okay, we can assemble a camera, CCTV camera. Okay, so that can be one mitigation plan. But will that always work? Because if we are not installing a 360 degrees camera, and if it has just 260 degrees of coverage and 100 degrees of coverage is still not there, you still have a risk that I mean, camera might not capture the movements which are not covered under the area of the CCTV coverage. So you still have the risk if that, I mean, if you choose to install that kind of thing. Okay, that is called residual risk. We can come up with more examples when we go to risk management. Okay, risk response plans are basically when when a risk happens during the identification and during the processing. What we do is when such risk happens, what should be done? So that is called risk response plans. So you need to review those risk response plans on a periodic manner and see if they are still valid as per the latest market changes and as of today, you know, things like that. So let's go to the inputs: risk register, project management plan, work performance data, work performance reports. Okay, and then work performance information is output, change request, project management plan updates, project document updates, OPS. So control procurements. This is a process necessary for. Can you hear me?
Yes, Gopi.
Yeah. Okay. This is a process necessary for managing the procurement relationships, contract performance, and making changes and corrections as required. Okay. So inputs. Uh, so basically, in the control procurements, what you're trying to do is, uh, okay. So in the control procurements, what you're trying to do is, so when your vendor or the third party who is providing the services to your organization, so you need to ensure that how whether the things are happening as per the contract, and you need to maintain the relationships and make changes and corrections if necessary. Okay, so inputs: project management plan, procurement documents, agreements, approved change requests, per performance reports, per performance data. Basically it all deals with the procurements. So once we give the order to the vendor and they are in the they are in the process of generating those deliverables, so the activities which happen in between are related to the control procurements. So you have a regular touch base calls with them and see how it is happening, and whether there is going to be any delay, or whether there are have any challenges completing the order and things like that. Okay, so the outputs are work performance information, change request, project management plan updates, project document updates, OPS. Actually, most of the people, I don't know, it's statistics. Looks like procurement is kind of a difficult subject for most of them in on the exam. Okay, so we'll see. So next thing is control stakeholder engagement. This is a process necessary for monitoring overall project schedule, stakeholder relationships, adjusting strategies and plans for engaging stakeholders. Okay, so this is a process necessary for monitoring overall projects stakeholder relationships and adjusting strategies and plans for engaging stakeholders. So again, basically, excuse me. So you are checking whether the stakeholder plans that we have in place are working, and whether it is helping for a good relationship between the team, or whether we need to change their strategies, or you may need to change your way of handling the stakeholders, or you may have to have a baseline changes to the stakeholder plan. Okay, it's all related to the stakeholder engagement. So project management plan is the input, issue logs, work performance data, project documents. And then outputs, work performance information. See, when I say inputs or project management plan is the input for most of the processes, but that doesn't mean that the project management plan is a superset of all the other individual plans like cost plan, stakeholder management plan, and things. So, it is just we are just mentioning it in a simple way that project management plan is the input, but there might be exact here in this case stakeholder management plan is the correct input. Okay, but we instead we'll just mention project management plan. Okay, as we go to the individual chapter, we will find out what is inside the project management plan that we refer. Okay, and then outputs, work performance information, change requests, project management plan updates, project update, project document updates, OPS. Okay, this is pretty much simple. Okay, now the final phase, it's a closing process group. So basically, so it is either a closing your project phase or overall project. Okay, at project or phase closure, the following may occur: obtain acceptance by customer or sponsor, conduct post-project or phase end review, record impacts of tailoring to any process, document lessons learned, apply updates to OPS, archive all relevant project document in the PMIS, close out procurements. Okay, so in order to sign off on a phase or a project, I think in the initial sessions I talked about gate, what do you call, so you have a gate outs, and then you have phase and sign off. Okay, so you need to conduct let's say design phase. In order to sign off on the design, everyone major stakeholders have to sign off on the design document, a design report or design document, and that is one formal way of closing that design phase. Okay, so that is first point: obtain acceptance by customer or sponsor, conduct post project or phase end review. See, basically, if you take agile, you have a retrospection meeting. Retrospection meeting is basically what went wrong, what went right, lessons learned, how can we improve, how can um so I'm sorry about that. So conduct post project or phase and review is basically, I'll just give an example because it is one of the ceremony in agile. uh, so you have a retrospection. In IP19. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Now, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's a very bad network here. I'm really, I'm sorry. So, so second point is retrospection meeting. What went right? What went wrong? What are the lessons learned? How can we do better in the next phase? Okay, that is second point. Record impacts of tailoring to any process. Okay, so basically, it is nothing but See if we have any very like if there are any process improvement plans or changes that we implemented, so and they were been very effective, you need to document those. And the fourth point is document lessons learned, that is very important. So you need to identify sorry you need to lessons learned is very very important part of closure. Okay, and usually that is feedback also, you need to share across feedback forms to important all the stakeholders or important stakeholders, get their feedback, that is also very crucial part. Okay, and most of the organization have it as an important task as part of the closure. Then apply updates to organization process assets, if there are any changes that we need to make to the OPS, we need to make. Then archive all relevant project documents in the PMIS. Okay, so we need to ensure that because PMI wants all the project documents to be archived, so that the it can be referred for the future purpose. Okay, so PMIS is project management information system. Okay, it can be a simple, I mean, already available tool in the market, or it can be a simple SharePoint portal, anything. Then closeout procurement. So closeout procurement means you need to have a official sign off, contract. So you need to check whether all the requirements are met as per the contract, whether the deliverable meets the criteria, and then officially you need to give sign off on the procurements. So if you have a contract with 20 vendors, then you need to have 20 closure phases for 20 different procurements. Okay, it's not that once in a project or once per phase. If you have 20 procurements, you need to have 20 closure phases for 20 procurements. That is also important concept. Okay, close project or phase, this is part of integration management. This is the process necessary to finalize all activities across all of the process groups to formally close the project or project phase. So inputs, project management plan, accepted deliverables, organization process assets. This is pretty much. So you just obtain a formal sign off from the important stakeholders. And outputs, final product, service or result transition, organization process asset update. Okay, result transition, what is it? Can anyone give some light on that? Result transition.
I think it's knowledge transition, Raju.
Yeah, yeah, yes, that is one part of it. And other things are,
And including aspects into the knowledge management, where whatever we have learned or whatever important documents that we have, we'll have to put it in the organization knowledge management system, so that moving forward anybody can pick up those and try to come out with whatever cost analysis or time analysis.
perfect. Yes. So one more thing is, I mean, whatever you mentioned is all correct. I just want to make one more point. So when a code moves to production, so there might be operational groups or production support groups that will take care of the rest of the post implementation activities. Okay, so we need to ensure that the proper what you call tools, knowledge has been shared, which will be useful for the regular operations of the product. So that is called operational. So again, that's what. So you, since you have achieved your project objective and you reach that end point, that now moves to operations. Okay, that is also important phase. You need to give them documentation, you need to conduct transition meetings, you need to explain how the things works, and ensure that and obviously, I mean, everything is again operational. In our regular project, what happens is we give 3 months warranty, and whoever develop the product, they still owns that product for 3 months, and if there are any issues, they are liable to fix those things. Okay, but that is still operational, part of operational and not project. Okay, you have closed procurements, This is the process necessary for completing each project procurement. Inputs, project management plan, procurement documentation. Outputs, closed procurements, organization processes set updates. Like I said, so this is the process necessary for completing each project procurement. There may be 100 procurements. So you need to close this for each and every. Close procurement should happen for each and every procurement. So procurement documentation and project management plan is the input, and you have closed procurements and OPA updates.
Gopi, Vineet here. Is it necessary to close the procurements at the end of the project? Let's say if I'm developing a website and I take assistance from a vendor in terms of developing some creative mockups, and once I get the creative mockups, I can actually close the procurement because it's a 1 year long project and there's no point of holding the payment for the vendor. So probably I would want to send out that. Payments and then accept the delivery and then give the feedback to the vendor and close it, or else is it important to keep it till the end and close it
No, no, no,
at
no.
the
It is
final
not till
stage?
the end. No, no. That's what. Whatever you mentioned is correct. You don't need to wait till the end. If a procurement, if a specific procurement is completed within the 2 months of the project, started, you can close then and there itself. There is no stopping. That's how you need to do it. So I'll give an example. When you are dealing with a construction project, so yeah, you have guys who are specialized in laying foundations. So they will lay the foundation. Their job is done. Okay, we need to close the procurement. Get out. The next guy comes in. His work is done. The painting guy comes in. The job is done. Electric person, he's done. Final touch up, he's done. Furniture done. So that's what the meaning of closing procurements individually is. It is not dependent at the end of the project, and it has to be closed. Why it has to be closed formally is because since you have a contract signed between both the parties and it is legally entitled, it is very important to obtain a email, or based on how we document in the contract requirements, we need to get that formal acceptance and we need to close it, otherwise it will be very difficult for both the parties. Okay, and whatever you said is right, so it can be done in the intermediate stages. Okay.
But what is the difference between closing see, for example, the moment the work is complete, I take a sign off from the vendor as well as the stakeholders, and then and there everything, all the formalities are completed. What is the different thing that I'm going to do at the close of the project? Is it like still we would have to go and do one step, say in, I mean, we might have our own checklist at the end of the project. Let's say did we close the
Okay, so
procurements?
yeah, so basically, like I mentioned, closing individual what do you call procurement is totally different because you are just dealing with a single procurement. And when it comes to overall closing the project, so what happened to the lesson learned to the overall organization, overall project lessons learned, and what about transition to your production support, everything. There are so many things associated with the closing pleasure, right?
Okay, so just let me put it this way. If we encounter a question where they ask that procurements are usually closed in which phase of the project, and they gave the answers like closing, initiation, execution, planning, or all of the above. Then in that case, can we select all of the above, or do we say at the closure of the project?
Yeah, procurement can be closed anytime. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, because see, there are two things. Okay, one is close project or phase, which happens in the integration. Okay, so you need to be very careful. This is close procurement process, and this is close project or phase project. Close procurement is different. It deals with the procurement, and close project or phase process deals with the overall project or phase.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mahesh, I think I got your mail. You are asking why are we not discussing tools and techniques. Okay. So in the PMP, there is this is third chapter where you need to give introduction to all the you need to give introduction to all the processes, process groups, and knowledge areas. That is very much required, because if I go deep into the um, individual knowledge area or a process, you cannot correlate one with the other one. And the reason why I'm trying to duplicate the work is there are amateurs in that group, like people who are technical, and they need a lot of, you need to keep repeating the stuff so that they get it. Okay, and there are I mean experienced, and it is a pain for them, but it is pretty much good for them as well, because I'm taking effort to repeat the work. That means I think it is good. So once I give the things updates here, when you go to the actual chapter, my job becomes easy, and you can correlate to my original chapters. Okay, that's how it happens.
Right.
And that is what PMI and PMBOK defined as well.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, because assume that I don't give that mapping sheet to you, and I don't give introduction of these things to you, and I directly go to schedule management. Imagine that I talk about project management plan, I talk about procurements, impact of cost on the procurement and stuff. You will get lost like anything. It is important that you take time and give a description, overall idea about what are all the things involved in the PMP, and then you go to the individual tools and techniques. That's what I'm saying. If you don't get a particular thing, don't get upset, because I'm just giving a high level information for you to easily grasp in the going chapters. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Vineet, did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yes, Gopi, but still, it's a fine line, difference. I'm still not got it completely in terms of differentiating. I mean, just to reiterate, I feel that it's a formal procedure that one must do after the closure of the project. Though we close the procurement based on the need, but still, it's a formal thing that we do. Every project manager has to do
Yes, yes,
mandatory if
that's
there
what
are
I'm
any.
saying. So that's what I'm saying. That's what you need to have a closed project or phase. Irrespective
Right.
of your procurements, project for closure is completely different, and it is required. Otherwise, it is not a see. There are questions asked on the exam. There is no. I mean, so we delivered the project, but there was no formal closure. That means you did not document the lessons learned. You did not archive your archive your data. So, do you think the project is completed or not? It might say
No,
that
it's not.
since the end product has been delivered, and it is already up and running in the live, I mean in the production, and it is giving awesome results. This is a project successful completion. Other option is the project is not complete because the closure is not complete. So that is the second is the correct answer, because you did not officially completed the project.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Gopi, I'm clear now.
Yeah, so I think definitely you might have such questions in the exam. Yeah, so okay. So I think that's all for today. Any questions?
Gopi, I have couple of questions. I'm not sure whether my questions will be helpful for the group, or shall we take it offline, or I leave it up to the team. If my questions will be beneficial, probably I can ask you now, because I have 4 or 5 questions, even with respect to the previous session. So not sure
Okay. Yeah.
if I
So
will
first
cover.
point, Vinith. So are you still correlating your project with the PMP?
No, no, no. I just have some basic questions. No, I'm not correlating my project management practices with PMP.
Because
I'm
the first
kind of.
first step of ensuring you are aligned with PMP is you need to get, because I know it is very difficult, because I as a project manager with so and so project, I mean we even though our designation is project manager and so, our the actual things that we do may be completely different. So can you just so tomorrow, guys, I mean, I'm really sorry. I have what do you call the family function, my wife's function tomorrow. I will not be taking the session tomorrow, but Srikanth will be opening the session. And guys, please discuss through the points, whatever we covered so far. And I appreciate if someone has a PM Bog or Rita, please go through it and fire a couple of questions to the team and organize it, and discuss through the problems. And if it is not resolved, maybe bring it out to me on WhatsApp group. Okay, is that okay? Tomorrow 8 to 10,
Yep, fine.
or do you want to take off tomorrow? It's up to you. Okay, so but I'll ask Srikanth to open the session tomorrow 8 a.m. to 10, and it can be for a group discussion. Okay, okay,
Okay, Gopi.
yeah,
Looks all right.
okay. Thank you very much, guys, and
Okay, have a
we'll
good
talk to
night.
you
Have a
on.
good day. Bye-bye.
Sorry,
Bye, Gopi.
yeah, bye, bye.